basically the future of the superhero film is going to be determined in July by 2 films that may be beat by Jurassic Park. But one of them is Fantastic Four, which it's one of my favorite comics in the world. It's the most comic book thing there is. It's very difficult to adapt unless you just completely lean into the beautiful Lee and Kirbiness of it. And then they cast fucking Pedro Pascal as Reed. I could have dealt with that, but then they did the female Silver Surfer, which is just, for me as a comic book fan, a total deal breaker. I can't see it being good because of this. Chris, I want you to describe in detail, not like just what she does. She have hair? I need a description of the female Silver Surfer.
And where
does she have tits?
Does she have hair nipples? And where?
Yes.
I'll paint a picture. Yes, there's hair. And it's there were 2 brief shots in the montage they showed, and she looks like, you know, when you go to like some outdoor event and there are those human statues that don't move, they're all covered in silver
all the time.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
it's like that, but a girl with hair.
Okay,
so she's not bald. Right. She's got hair, like she does in the comics. Okay,
yeah.
Is it the curly hair or is it straight hair?
Curly.
It's curly. So is it static?
Yeah. The shots were so brief. I was like, and people did gasp when they saw her. But
good gasp, bad gasp.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'll say that the weakest thing about the montage they showed us.
Montage.
Every time we saw it.
Pedro Pascal is just not a leader. Reed Richards. He seems like mopey. And then the 2 shots of female Silver Surfer look kind of lame. Doug Jones was better in makeup, you know, like
Doug Jones.
Doug Jones.
Yeah, so
cool guy, by the way.
For that movie, he's awesome. For that movie, they had Kevin Feige in a video say, "Hey, I'm on the set of Avengers Doomsday, which begins shooting any day now. Sorry I couldn't be there. Here's a look at the Fantastic Four," which starts with a montage of them being celebrities. They're introduced on that show, like kind of Ed Sullivan, right? This old show. Like, they went to space. They came back with powers. They've done so much for us. But there's a looming threat, something coming from space. They have to return to space to confront this thing, which we know is Galactus. And I still have not seen Galactus. They showed the same shots they've showed. They did get into a little bit of the family dynamic. They showed Sue, you know, she's pregnant, so little Franklin Richards is on the way. We'll see how that plays out. But so, I mean, I like everything but Pedro and female Silver Surfer, but everything else looked encouraging. Johnny and Sue are great. They're just well cast. They have blonde hair. Freaking Chris Evans plays 2 characters from the Marvel Universe with blonde hair and never dyes his hair. So they finally did it with Sue and Johnny. So sorry, a word quibble there, but
no, it's okay.
I like Chris Evans more as Johnny Storm than I ever liked him as Captain America. To be honest,
well, yeah, true, but he really looks like Johnny and Sue from the comics. I mean, Vanessa Kirby. Wow, she's
it's good casting. I like Vanessa Kirby.
Yeah, she looks good.
So I actually was like, all right, well, we'll see. But those 2 things really put me off. Pedro is just not Reed. He's in too many movies, you know?
Yeah, and he's not Reed.
Can't play everything.
There's no universe. I cannot suspend. That's like suspending my disbelief to believe Rachel Zegler's fucking Snow White. I cannot believe fucking Pedro Pascal is the smartest man in the universe.
I mean, Reed is like John Hamm, like chiseled, sort of classic good looks. You know, John Hamm.
They had John Krasinski.
Yes,
Krasinski was
fantastic. Just something. So it left me underwhelmed. Same thing with Alan, and most people there were like,
yeah, what was the crowd reaction? I mean,
it was look, it's the faithful, so they were all over it. But when people were walking out, it was like, we'll see.
I'm concerned. Gary, I wanted to ask you, because I never read Fantastic Four, the comic book. I've heard Stan Lee talk about it, and his kind of approach to why he felt Fantastic Four stood out was that he decided to make a group of superheroes that didn't get along and would argue, and it became kind of like a family drama baked into a superhero thing, right?
Yes.
Is that what you loved about Fantastic Four as a comic book? Like what made you like it so much?
The family dynamic and just basically how out there it was, but at the time, I wasn't alive at that time, so I'm reading it like
I don't believe that.
Okay, I was alive at the time. Is how groundbreaking it was. Like everybody just got along, and everything was, especially after the comic book code came in, everything just got kind of fucking boring and stale. And at the time, it was mixing it up. And having characters argue was very unusual. Now it got way darker after that, but at the time it was very unusual. What I liked about it was just the fucking look. When I was a kid, that's what I liked. The Human Torch and the Thing. They were fucking awesome. And I learned to read later, much later. Dude, when I was a kid, I was dumb. So I'm like, I don't really like this blocky Jack Kirby art. It was, and a lot of the kids, back in the 70s kind of felt the same way. It's like, that's old, tired art. And then I learned to appreciate it when I got, somewhat smarter. I'm not going to argue that I was smart. But what drew me to it is it was unapologetically a comic book. And and everything. And it was crazy stuff that you could not adapt into a TV show, into a movie. It was the pure art form of comics, which is it's only limited by your imagination and the great art of everybody who's worked on it, from, Kirby to John Byrne. John Byrne's run is my favorite run of it, of all. Yeah. And it's one of my favorite comic book runs of all, because he really levels up the Fantastic Four after that and actually takes that dynamic from Lee and Kirby and expands on it even more. And when they got rid of the Thing and they brought in She-Hulk, it didn't miss a beat. Like, nobody fucking complained. It was fucking cool. The Thing went off to his little solo book, which I liked too. But I liked it because it was just pure comic book. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful pop art. That's what it was.
Because I do think you could make a Fantastic Four movie that can be great, right? My concern is that a lot of the things that what were innovative about it are not innovative anymore, and they're kind of more like characters that don't get along. We saw that in the Avengers.
It's how they present Galactus, right? Galactus is a villain. But then they expand that. No, he's actually just a force of nature, that he actually serves a purpose in the universe. Because of his culling of planets. That is something, it's like a shark. They need to exist in nature. So that's how they approached it, and it was really cool. And Silver Surfer is one of my favorite characters, ever.
Same. I read, the reprints of Kirby and Lee, and just read every issue 1 through 100. Again, went through the John Byrne era, and everything about it, from the family dynamic to the arguments to what's at stake. They had no secret identities. They had nicknames. There was nothing like it. So, and there have been 3 attempts to make the Fantastic Four, right? And each have failed for different reasons. Although I like the Corman one because, whatever. It was the most true to the comic. But they've never really captured it. From what I've heard from someone who did see it, and Gary, what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Someone who saw it says it's less a superhero movie. It's more of a science fiction film.
Yeah.
It's more sci-fi. Which
that sounds good.
Which is what the FF is. I've always thought that the FF would make a good TV series like Doctor Who, just the adventure of the week, and have some overarching series. It would make a great TV series. The fact that they'll blow it in a movie, I don't know. And when I read that the main thing was that run, the issues, Gary, the coming of Galactus.
Yes.
Because back then Stan Lee's writing was very Shakespearean. I always liked the word he would use words like low, this man, this monster.
This man, this monster. Yes.
Like drama. It was high drama, and it got you engaged as a kid. That run of the first Galactus story, I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd see this as a movie.
And they fucked it up.
I don't think they can pull it off.
No, because the Silver Surfer's a girl. It's not Norrin Rad. Is it Shalabal?
And
is Silver? Is it the Silver? Okay, I'm assuming it is.
Yeah.
So that's Norrin Rad's woman.
But by the way,
that's the whole reason. Like he becomes the Silver Surfer.
How many? Let me just say, how many billion-dollar movies is Kevin Feige shepherded or been behind?
A lot.
Why can't he lay that down and say "F you" to the HR department? You're not having influence on the casting of my stuff.
To provide
fuck off.
To provide context to that, I was told that Kevin Feige, that wasn't his decision. It came from head of studio, not from Bob Iger, but the guy I forgot his name. The guy
in between.
Yeah, the guy, the head of studio at Disney, because they wanted the Ozark actress in it.
Julia Garner, who I really like in Ozark.
She'd make a great Alicia. Give her Alicia. Right?
Yeah,
she would have been fine. Yeah, but fuck this bullshit. Gender swap, race swap. No one likes it. Not one person likes it. Hi, Rapunzel.
Oh yeah.
Go down your drag.
Well, the weird thing has always been where they say that it's important to represent a certain group because their experiences themselves to entirely change that character, and it means something important. Well, the thing is, it does, because that means that Silver Surfer would have to be a man, because if you switch it for a woman, that would be an entirely different character with an entirely different life experience who would behave entirely differently and have a different morality. So their own arguments mean they shouldn't be doing this. If representation is important, you have to keep it exactly as it was, or you make an entirely different piece of work.
You can bring Shalabal in later. There's definitely a place where you can bring her in later, but to introduce her, it's a huge mistake. So this is Marvel. This is the Fantastic Four being made by Marvel. It's supposedly the Fantastic Four at home. Their main studios where the whole thing behind Marvel was we're in control of our characters so we can get them right, because all these other studios were doing this crazy shit, and they're worse than anybody else was with their properties before. They're way worse. And there's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for a female Silver Surfer other than identity politics. Yeah. And like, we're so past that now. Nobody would have cared. Nobody would have complained if the Silver Surfer. Nobody's going to watch Fantastic Four and go, "There's not enough women."
Nobody's serious.
Like I said, nobody's serious would give a shit about that. It's a huge mistake. You're adapting like some of your greatest lore ever put to print, and you're fucking it up. And you're the company who's not supposed to fuck it up.
And, the best case study of how, to show that a Fantastic Four movie can work really well and be successful is actually The Incredibles. It's basically a Fantastic Four in terms of the cast. It's the family dynamic. And The Incredibles was great. It's just like, you need people who know how to handle characterizations. But also, I think if they really, latched onto that cosmic level threat kind of aspect of the Fantastic Four, where they have to work together to take on these crazy things, there's potential there. I do not have confidence Marvel understands this or they're going to pull it off. And so,
I don't think there's any faith in Marvel right now anyway. Like, even after the Doomsday the chair stream, and Kevin Feige had to come out and confirm that something we already knew, Chris, that there were chairs filmed that they haven't shown
the
yet.
chairs were great. There was no dialogue, no plot. They finally were able to nail something.
Are we going to get a second stream?
None of the chairs, went into their politics.
Yeah.
Hey, so the director of the Fantastic Four, you want to know what he's directed a couple good things. Well, it depends.
Yeah.
So he's but none of them are movies. None of them are. He's a TV director. But he's done, he did Always Sunny in Philadelphia, one of the greatest shows ever made.
Hey, there you go.
A couple episodes of Game of Thrones. And WandaVision.
Hey, those are like movies, sort of.
He directed 43 episodes.
You had me at the first half, but WandaVision.
No.
Wait, which episodes of WandaVision?
The directing wasn't the problem with WandaVision, though. So
it was the story and the characters and the world building.
But he hasn't directed any movies.
Well, but I'll say this. What he's done is looked really good. And what we've seen of FF as a director doing a job, I think he's done a capable job. I really think so. And you know what I like? They're not throwing his name around at every turn. The cast isn't saying, you're the greatest director ever, and it's so great to work with you and know you. He's not the focal point of promoting that movie. Whereas Superman, completely different story.
They should just call it James Gunn, the movie. July 11th.
Written, directed, starring.
I remember when Multiverse of Madness was like coming out, everyone's like, Sam Raimi. It's like, all right, it's one of the worst, maybe the worst movie ever created. So that doesn't mean anything.
No, it really doesn't.
And there was like two scenes in the entire movie that actually felt like Sam Raimi directed them.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.